I had Anthony Scaramucci on the show last Friday, who I've known for many years. And I asked him what happened because, he sold 30% of his company to Sam. He took Sam out to the Middle East and introduced him to all of his contacts and proceeded to make the Mooch look like a complete idiot. And he was upset. And he said, look, Brian, I think I might have actually started this beef because apparently in one of the meetings out in the Middle East, Sam was saying bad things about CZ, and that got back to CZ. And that's pretty much when CZ came out and said, guess what? We're just going to liquidate this position. That did kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back, though, was CZ coming out and saying, I'm going to get rid of this $2 billion position. I mean, yeah, that did do it. And again, it was probably a smart business move for CZ, whether it was planned or Machiavellian or sinister. But also, I worked on Wall Street for 15 years. If you got a $2 billion position that you're going to liquidate and you want to get the money back, you don't exactly announce it to the market. What do you make of all those details, including Scaramucci?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I was told about Scaramucci was, I don't know exactly how, I don't have the details on this, but he was forced to sell 30% of his company at FTX. Basically, somehow he was strong-armed into doing that. He didn't necessarily want to do it in the beginning. Of course, that's not something he's probably going to come out and say because it makes him probably look weak. But that's what I was told from someone that knows him pretty well. Now, in terms of what happened,
this was going to be the exchange of the future, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know the details there. I am a fan of the Mooch, but yeah. Anyways, continue.
I'm neutral.
Okay.
I'm neutral on the Mooch.
For you, that means you love them.
Basically, yeah. I don't have a strong opinion about it. I was actually, the funny thing is, the week that all this went down, I was scheduled to have a conversation with him. We were working through some third parties to have a talk and see about him coming on my show or whatever our relationship would grow as. And then obviously all this stuff happened and then it kind of fell, it fell to the wayside. But what I'll say about CZ making his, here's what's funny. This was going to happen anyways. Now here is, so on October 29th, we were telling everybody to get their money off FTX. We did a tweet where we told everybody, if you don't get your money off FTX, you're low IQ. This was because we were working on the front end of this. We knew that there was a big problem with the markets, and we knew this was going to come back to cost them. Logically, we should have known there was insolvency, but we didn't know there was insolvency at the time. We were so focused on the project side that we weren't really looking at the retail investor side. So there was like a couple days later, after the CoinDesk tweet came out, I did come out and say, I do not believe that FTX was insolvent. I didn't believe it was insolvent at the time. However, we were already working on this story for a week in advance before CoinDesk dropped that article about these fake markets. And we were working with Gretchen Morgensen on NBC. She came out with a report on it about these predatory business practices that they were doing. This was always going to happen. Once we figured out what was going on, the missing piece that we did not realize, I kind of already mentioned it earlier, but the missing piece for us was not having the common sense to think like, oh, if these are fake markets and then people are withdrawing real assets as profit, that's going to leave an insolvency hole. So it was kind of common sense once it all happened, like, oh yeah, we were working on the same story. We just didn't really see that side of it yet. So CZ doing this thing, like it really sped up the timeline. We were probably days away from discovering the insolvency hole before he tweeted and he sold his FTT. That sped everything up tremendously. I never saw that coming. Like that was like when we thought we were working in stealth. We had alluded to we were working on some stuff against FTX, but we thought like we had the whole month, and eventually what happens is you realize like, okay, once they acquired Voyager, they were going to be able to cover up the hole. So it became about making sure that we stopped them before they bought Voyager. But it became a moot point once CZ did what he did, and then everything became kind of, everything unraveled. I knew from the very beginning, though, that CZ was not going to buy FTX. That was never going to happen. We had too many lawsuits on the back end that we knew were going on against him for his business practices, and we sent those to CZ. The morning that they announced they were considering acquiring. So we knew there was no way they were going to acquire FTX. It was just too much drama going on. But this was always going to happen, unless the only thing they were going to be able to do was if they bought Voyager, if they bought Celsius, if they added all those real assets to their balance sheet, they could have kept it going for a little bit longer and then tried to keep that same process of acquiring companies that have real assets to cover their insolvency holes. These insolvency holes were gigantic. That's why they did all these. That's why they collapsed Terra Luna, so they could make a couple $100 million to try to fill the insolvency hole. It was already billions. People say the total insolvency hole is probably $50 billion across all the companies, because the BlockFi insolvency hole, that's on FTX as well. So when you really look at all of the Alameda investments and how much money was out there, it's over twice as big as Enron.
The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.